02276,000. But when you go there, call up and get your tickets in advance, because if you buy the tickets at the door, they cost a little more.
Yeah, and they sell out.
And they sell out. So, yeah, call ahead and get your tickets, or go on the website and get your tickets. Go and enjoy a great meal. Take your wife out. Take your girlfriend out, but don't take them both out.
You should be doing the stand-up there.
So, hey, no, it's a lot of fun.
It is.
When I went there, I had a blast, and the food's good.
Yeah.
You know, normally not what you expect when you go to a place where they're offering entertainment, but the food actually it stands on its own merits.
Yeah, their food's great, the atmosphere is great, and I like my comedy like I like my martinis, a little dirty. You know what I mean? That's just me.
Mine clean. Hey, I'm not a prude. You know, other people can listen to what they want.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, let's finish up this Trump budget plan. Department of Agriculture is getting a 20.7% cut, and I'm assuming that's a lot of subsidies for farmers who should be doing something else. If you can't make any money growing corn, then try soybeans or try something. You know what? Try ginseng. Get creative with your farm. You know what I mean? There are things that you can grow to make a lot of money, right?
You know,
my
grandfather was a farmer, and what he found is he had to rotate his crops.
Yes.
So, and by rotating your crops, you stay profitable. You work with the ground that you have.
Yep.
And you can do it.
Yeah, because you're taking different nutrients out of the ground every time. Yeah.
But then you plant something like alfalfa that's actually putting nutrients back into the ground. And you can make money on alfalfa.
Yep.
It
puts the nitrogen back into the ground through the roots or something.
Right.
Am I thinking alfalfa? Is that the right one?
That's the right one.
Yeah, that's right.
So they can make money on it, but what we need to stop doing is paying people to not grow.
Yes, that just drives me absolutely insane. You know, it really does. Remember, milk was really expensive way back in the day. Milk used to be crazy. That drove me crazy because they're doing subsidies and keeping the price high and the quantities low. I think that's the way it works. Anyways, Department of Labor, 20.7% cut. You can do 100% cut in that one in my book. Health and Human Services down 16%. So don't cry that you're getting hammered in the Health and Human Services sphere. It's only 16%. Department of Commerce, 15%. I think that could probably be higher. Get rid of them. Housing and Urban Development, 13% cut. Department of Transportation, what do they do?
They're going to...
Other than FAA, I don't really, they're sending, I don't know. Put it back to the states. We don't need a federal Department of Transportation. Department of Interior, 11% cut, right? Those parks, I mean, other than changing the garbage bags out and keeping the restrooms clean at the national park, how much money do they really need?
Well, I'll tell you right now, you just hit something very close to me. The national parks actually, for the money they're spending on it, they're not being kept that clean. There's actually a national monument out near Boston, Massachusetts, dedicated to the pilgrims that came over here. Mm-hmm. Beautiful monument, except it's in the middle of a housing complex. No one takes care of it. It's generally full of bird droppings. Generally, there's a large bird nesting on the top of the head of the Statue of Faith. Yeah. But because it involves faith and belief and the belief of the pilgrims that when they came over here, the federal government doesn't do anything to take care of it.
I'm surprised Barack Obama didn't just lasso it like we did the statue of Saddam Hussein, tear it down. You know what I mean?
And then we have a lot of waste going on in our national parks in Washington. When I go to Washington and visit, I watch national parks. There are just a lot of people that just sit around pointing people on how to get from the Lincoln Memorial to the Washington Memorial. And here's a hint: you can see one from the other.
That's right.
Okay, you don't need someone pointing how to get there.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see. Department of Energy, 5.6% cut. Now, let me ask you. Department of Energy, I think, was started with Jimmy Carter, right? Because we had the Arab oil embargo and blah, blah, blah. And it was designed to do something. It's never done anything. Get rid of it. If it's got nuclear stuff related to it, send the Nuclear Regulatory Committee over to the Department of Defense or something.
It's actually hurting our fuel industry in this country because the regulations and everything that we have in this country on the drilling is so astronomical. On any of the gas or anything like that they can't compete with Saudi Arabia in price. So when Saudi Arabia sits there and picks up production, it knocks our fuel industry out. It just kills it.
Right.
So if we want to actually compete on that market, we want to get away from foreign oil and foreign energy, then we need to start deregulating our industry here.
Department of Treasury, 4.4% cut. Department of Justice, 3.8%. I tell you what, Department of Justice, if it's got anything to do with these idiots that we're calling judges, let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, this is really irking and we talked about it on the show maybe a month ago when the first hold up to Trump's immigration plan came in. You know what? It's time for Congress, Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan to step up. Let's just get rid of some of them. Let's take all these troublemakers and just get rid of them. Cut them in half again like they did back in Andrew Jackson's day. Get rid of half the federal courts. Done. Gone. Bye-bye.
Oh, it got worse than that during FDR. FDR offered all these judges early retirement to get them out of there so he could put his liberal judges in. That's how we got Hugo Black on the Supreme Court. Yeah. That totally took prayer out of school. I mean, it pushed everything. It ended up taking a very progressive direction. I think Trump should do the same thing. Hey, we're going to pay you to retire instead of sticking around.
Yeah.
And get rid of him. Get Ginsburg gone on the Supreme Court. Get this federal judge out in Hawaii off the case.
I'll take it a step further. If these judges, these last two judges, they weren't going by the law, they weren't going by the Constitution, they were using their own personal feelings and trying to say Trump's personal. I don't care if Donald Trump does hate Muslims. It doesn't matter. The law is the law. It's in black and white. You read the law. Is it constitutional? Then you follow it. And these judges, I think, are breaking the Constitution. They're guilty of treason. I want to see them swing and hang.
Here's the big
That's
problem.
What I want
They're trying to apply. They are trying to apply our Constitution that applies to our citizens and our country, and they're trying to apply those rights of our Constitution to those outside of the country.
Yes, which you can't do.
You can't do it.
You can't do it. It's completely illegal,
and it's unconstitutional.
It's unconstitutional. These judges are guilty of treason. I want to see them swing for it. I want several of these judges hanged. I'm sorry. Is that brutal?
No, I think you really need to tell us how you really feel.
I want them swinging from the gallows. I want some people, including these leakers, right, that are hurting the United States. I want to see some people swing, or at least, nothing else, breaking rocks out at Leavenworth. Send them out there.
I think so.
Lock them up.
If they are leaking government information, they need to go to jail.
Yeah. I go to jail. I'm a death penalty guy. I'm fine with that.
So am I.
Let them swing. If you are guilty of treason and sedition, swing from the gallows, baby. That's all I got to say. And I'll be there selling popcorn if you want me to. So
I'm a little bit more restrictive on my death penalties.
Spending increases: defense, Homeland Security, and Veterans Affairs, as it should be. Right? So anyone that's complaining about his budget, screw you. It's a great budget. You know what I mean? Not perfect. I'm sure they never are, but it's moving in the right direction. And he didn't increase deficit spending one iota.
And here's a point. Who has more of an experience of developing and working on a budget? Someone who's run a huge business for decades, or elected politicians that know a little bit about law or something else, but they're not businessmen.
Right. Let's take a call from Ken in Livonia. Ken, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment that when you consider what the Quran teaches, when you consider what Muhammad did, when you consider the history of Islam for the last 1,400 plus years, there is absolutely nothing wrong with despising, hating anyone who describes himself as a follower of Muhammad.
Yeah.
I mean, if you made a comment that I hated Nazis because of what Adolf Hitler promoted and what Nazis did, there was nothing wrong with that. And I would say the same thing would apply, because Islam is an ideology and Nazism is an ideology, is just as harmful and just as dangerous to us.
Yeah. The only thing I won't do, Ken, is I won't take as big a broad a brush as you do, but I will say you are correct in one thing. If you are worshiping Muhammad and the Quran as it is written, you are an evil person. That's all I can say.
I will say that the ideology, and I'm going to speak as a pastor here, I'll say that the ideology of Islam is straight from the pits of hell. There's no doubt. All right? It's from the same place as every other cult that comes from. But as a pastor, I'm going to sit there and remind everyone our Lord tells us to love our neighbors, love our enemies, right?
Yes.
And I'm doing a whole spot. Hold on. I'm doing a whole spot.
Love your enemy and hate him at the same time.
Well, right now I'm doing a whole spot on tolerance right now. We have to tolerate the person, but hate the difference where we disagree with them. We can hate the ideology, and we can have robust debate and robust conversation and robust action if it pushes that far. If they want to support their ideology of Islam to the point of war, we have to be willing to defend our right to do so.
Yes.
But I do have that little thing is I absolutely hate their ideology. I think it's evil, and I think there comes a time for that robust conversation on their ideology. I can sit there, as you can, show where it's wrong. But I just have a hard time telling people to hate another person.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit there.
Now, one thing I think should also be stressed, and you brought this up, there should be no doubt that the devil, and if you talk to followers of Muhammad, they'll tell you about how he went into convulsions and he went through all these different reactions that they thought, his original followers thought he was possessed.
He thought himself, just so you know, he thought himself that he was possessed by a demon, and his wife convinced him he wasn't, that he was a prophet from Allah.
Well, that's why I think it's so important for us to stress that where the Bible tells us that the devil is the father of all lies, that clearly Muhammad himself met with the devil, and that it was the devil himself that founded Islam.
I agree.
I have no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on that because I read in my 30s. I think I've told the story before. In my 30s, I was kind of feeling a little lost. I wasn't happy with my religious upbringing so much. It just wasn't doing. I was looking for something different. I read the Bible, the Quran from beginning to end, and even tried to worship a little bit like it. And by the time I got to the end, all of a sudden it was clear as day to me. This guy's a liar. There's one set of rules for Muhammad, but everyone else has to live by a separate set of rules. And I thought, he's a Democrat. That's the way I look at it.
Well, if you actually read, I've done extensive study on the Quran. I've read it almost 40 times now, thoroughly. And what you find is the book is 90% political. It's only 10% faith-based, and I'll say they get it wrong on the faith-based on the most part.
Well, the one thing that has to be stressed about Islam, and non-followers don't get this, is their doctrine of abrogation. That everything in the Quran that Muhammad promoted when he was originally in Mecca has been replaced with everything he wrote in Medina.
Right.
And so when a Muslim talks to someone and tries to educate, teach the non-Muslim, they will always go to the abrogated part, peace, tolerance, and love, and they will avoid all the other parts from Medina. And this is just something that people need to be aware of.
Yeah. All right. Well, great call, Ken. Appreciate it. Take care.
You guys take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. So, it just drives me crazy. I know we've got Walter on the line. Walter, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to listen to something, but give us a break. Derek, put us on break, and Walter will get you on the other side.
I'm Derek Stone with 60 Seconds on Sports. Central Michigan University men's basketball player Marcus Keene scored an incredible 959 points in 32 games this season, which would give him a scoring average of 29.96, points per game. The National Collegiate Athletic Association rounds off scoring averages to the nearest tenth of a point, so that would bump Keene's scoring average to 30 points per game. But in this case, the NCAA should record the actual scoring rate. If I was to look up that a basketball player averaged 30 points per game in a 32-game season, I know that this athlete scored 960 points, not 959 points. I'm Derek Stone, and this is my 60 Seconds on Sports.
Two ways to define tolerance. I define tolerance this way. I may disagree with you 100%, but I insist on your rights to articulate your opinion, however stupid or ignorant I think it is. That's tolerance. This means that there is tolerance for the individual. meaning tolerance is directed towards individuals, not opinions. Yet it allows for robust debate of content and substance. The idea behind this concept of tolerance is that through debate, the truth will come out. In the end, truth being desirable and attainable. But if tolerance is tied to only a specific view, it redefines the very meaning of tolerance. When you limit the scope of tolerance, tolerance means that you must not say that anybody is wrong. Notice under this view of tolerance, you are not tolerant of individuals.